Good morning, everyone. Our assigned theory is solution-focused brief therapy. Solution-focused brief therapy is a postmodern approach to therapy. Postmodern approaches to therapy are based on the premise that there is no single truth. This theory then empowers group members to create their own reality. The basic premise to a postmodern perspective is that people are resourceful, competent, healthy, resilient, and have the capacity to change the direction of their lives. The theory is important in group work because it informs the way a group operates in facilitating. A theory guides how you deal with members and member roles. The development of solution-focused brief therapy was originally inspired by the work of husband and wife Steve DeShazer and Insoo Kim Berg, along with their associates at the Brief Therapy Center in Milwaukee. The Brief Therapy Center was first established by DeShazer and Berg in 1978 and formally became the home of the solution-focused brief therapy in 1982. With the passing of DeShazer and Berg in January 2007, the stewardship of the Brief Therapy Center was transferred to the Solution-Focused Brief Therapy Association. There are key concepts and principles to solution-focused brief therapy. Building on the strengths perspective and using a time-limited approach, solution-focused brief therapy is a treatment model in social work practice that holds a person accountable for solutions rather than responsible for problems. Solution-focused brief therapy deliberately utilizes the language and symbols of solution and strengths in treatment and suggests that positive and long-lasting change can occur in a relatively brief period of time by focusing on a solution-building process instead of focusing on problems. There is little focus on diagnosing clients in solution-focused brief therapy.
Okay, we'll try again. Solution-focused brief therapy is more participant-led, allowing them to create their own goals and preferences in this therapy. Therefore, change is not forced, but members are in an atmosphere where they can discover their own resources to sponsor their change. One of the essential perspectives of this therapy method is emphasizing the small changes that further lead to big changes. Group leaders will often commend members on their change progress. Encouraging them helps them to continue their growth and experience in their daily lives. In solution-focused brief therapy, it is assumed that clients want to change, they have the potential for change, and they do their best to experience change. The leader of a solution-focused brief therapy group sees everything from the client's perspective, allowing them to focus on collaborating with their group about solutions and possibilities instead of their problems. Techniques that are often used in solution-focused brief therapy include pre-therapy change questions, like what have you done that has made a difference since the last time we had a session? Exception questions, such as you discussed having fun during this event and you didn't feel this problem. Why do you think that it's different at that time? Or what has gotten better since the last time we met? Miracle questions are also used, such as if a miracle happened overnight and you no longer felt your problem, how would you know that it was solved? What would be different in your life? Scaling questions can often relate to miracle questions on a scale of 0 to 10 being how you felt when you first came to group, and 10 being how you feel the day that your miracle occurs. You wake up and no longer feel your problem. How would you rate your problem right now? Summary feedback is often used to wrap up group sessions. What have these changes taught about yourself? What made you decide to use this solution for your problem? What are some of the biggest differences about you before making these changes? Genuine affirmations and pointing out particular strengths are important in solution-focused brief therapy.
To touch base on the diversity of solution-focused brief therapy, solution-focused brief therapy is often used with a combination of other approaches when working with clients. According to studies, SFBT can be used when working with children that display internalizing and externalizing behavioral issues. This approach can work in a school or a family setting. Solution-focused brief therapy includes individuals from diverse populations. Tests involving SFBT were conducted in China to examine the benefits of using SFBT with Asian populations. The data gathered from studies displayed a positive result for Chinese clients with mental health related issues. However, studies have shown that in order to further develop and strengthen the usefulness of solution-focused brief therapy, future studies need to include research sites that serve ethnically and racially diverse populations. The empirical research study that we chose focused on the impact of solution-focused brief therapy in a school setting. The purpose of this study was to examine the impact that solution-focused brief therapy has on children who are deemed at risk in middle school. This study shows that SFBT is beneficial and that it displays notable changes when working with at-risk populations. Parents who had children participating in this study noted that there were not as many issues related to completion of their child's homework. Although this study supports that SFBT can have a positive impact on children at the middle school level, it can be the sole intervention method when working with children, but it is recommended to look at all levels that impact a child's mental and physical health.
So to touch on some ethical and practice concerns in practicing solution-focused brief therapy, not many studies have been conducted on SFBT as an intervention in and of its own right, as it usually is combined with other methods of treatment. This means that the studies or treatments are combined, make it impossible to see the effectiveness of SFBT because multiple avenues of treatment were used. While the evidence base for studies that solely review SFBT is growing, the research base still remains relatively weak. The research backing SFBT will strengthen whenever more studies are conducted that only focus on SFBT. In practice, SFBT focuses on holding the client accountable for solutions. This process is rarely ever simple or easy. When clients are seeking treatment, they are seeking treatment because they usually don't know where to begin to find solutions to their presenting problems. In SFBT, solutions usually come in the form of goals self-determined by the client. Keeping that in mind, sometimes it can be difficult for the client to find such goals, as well as maintain the discipline and effort needed to see them through. To combat this, goals need to follow a set of characteristics that will ensure their usefulness, such as the goals need to be meaningful, personal, and important to the client. They need to be small enough to be achieved. The goals need to be concrete, specific, and behaviorally focused. The goals need to be positive in nature. And the more specific and clear the vision for the future is, the more likely the client will follow through with the goals that they have set.